Thank you, Your Honor. First and foremost, I would just like to notify the court that the respondent's answer to petitioner's personal protective order fails to comply with MCR 3.707A, which requires that the renotice of a motion to terminate occur within 14 days. And
Ma'am, you're going to have to speak up. Don't turn your head away from the camera because we can't hear you.
We had a counseling appointment at 8 o'clock with Margaret Hunter until 9 o'clock. And my niece had come to my house and picked to visit, and I ended up riding back with her to her house. And Devin, my boyfriend, picked me up his number and went on to the next person. And I went back to the locker room where I seen Sean, our younger son, outside of the locker room, and Randy, Ricky's girlfriend's dad, and John Bolton outside of the locker room. I was really upset, and I said, tell Jeremy to get his ass out here. And I kept walking past the locker room, turned around, stood down there for a little bit, came back, and Randy was saying, I understand what you're going through. I understand what you're going through. And I said, you don't know what I've been through. And we ended up walking towards the gate, and I said, Jeremy's a fuck. And then I said, I hate that word. And I said, I'm leaving to go cool down. And I left. And
Miss Johnson, after you left the football game, well, actually, let's go back to the incidents at the Harper Creek Stadium. While you were calling for Mr. Johnson to come out, did you ever make any threatening comments towards him, or any threats of violence or anything like that towards him to come out of the locker room?
no, I never even yelled for him to come out. I was telling Randy and John to tell Jeremy to get out there.
And so you said you left to go cool down.
Mm-hmm.
And where did you go when you left to cool down?
I went for a drive, and I ended up going back to my house, our marital home, and I was looking for my extra set of car keys that Jeremy still continues to not give back to me. And I went back. I went and looked in his truck, and I went into the top of the garage and looked in the drawers and on the countertop.
While you were looking for this extra set of car keys, did you destroy any of the property in the home? Did you make a mess of the garage or any of the property that was located in the home?
No, I never entered the home. I was in the top of the garage. I had stumbled through change in his truck. His truck was there, and so there was change all over the truck. And
Excuse me one moment, ma'am. Ms.
yeah,
Smith, I'm looking
Yes.
at the petition and I don't see any reference to this particular incident in there. So how is it relevant?
On the petitioner's petition,
Yes.
there is an incident that he alleges that Miss Johnson destroyed a bunch of his items in his garage.
actually, I can chime in here. Specifically, it says, Your Honor, Mr. Doust, when exactly did you get out of the vehicle?
After I had also stated that he leave the kids out of this situation. And he kept asking me what I was gonna do about it, and I wasn't gonna do anything. I wouldn't do nothing. antagonizing me to come onto his property. And so I'd opened my door, never came towards him, put a foot on the ground, and said, I'm not coming on your fucking property. And so he came to us, which was more than a step away. It wasn't just 1 footstep to step to the road.
So you decided to open the door and get out of the vehicle and join Kelly.
No, I had 1 foot on the ground, 1 foot on the step of my truck.
So your door was all the way open, or was it slightly open?
Slightly open at this point.
And so when the dog got out of my client's control and jumped on you, how, if the door was just slightly open and you were still in the vehicle, how did it jump on you and bite you?
Once he had started to approach the road to confront, I fully got out of the vehicle, yes. And that is when he let go of the dog.
So you exited completely the vehicle, you shut your door, you met with Miss Johnson at the front of the vehicle, and you and she presented essentially unified front in front of my client?
No, I don't know where you gather that. Me and your client met, not me and Kelly. I don't know where you gather that Kelly and I joined.
Well, Kelly
Yep.
was close enough to grab the dog, correct?
Correct, but she also called the dog. It was at one time for however many years her dog as well.
Okay. Did you also raise your hands to Mr.
Did I
Johnson?
put in a defensive position? Yes, I absolutely did.
Did you make any threatening remarks to Mr. Johnson?
I did not.
If you were on the side of the road on your own property and someone stopped their vehicle, turned around and came and confronted you, would you be able to, have a sense of fear or apprehension?
No,
So you would be fine in the middle of the night for someone who was a stranger essentially to just pull up on your property?
yeah. I'm not, I don't know, yeah.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay, Ms. Smith, any additional redirect?
No redirect, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dowds, that would conclude your testimony. Thank you. You're free to go. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.
Any other witnesses, Ms. Smith?
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to call Mr. Jeremy Johnson.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, we'll have you raise your right hand, be sworn in. We'll proceed.
Sir, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Smith.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, how long had you and Ms. Johnson been married prior to the divorce proceedings?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Yeah, what's the relevance, Ms. Smith?
I will just strike that. I'll move forward.
Okay.
Mr. Johnson, do you recall the incidents that happened in May of this year on your property and near
I
your
do.
property?
I do.
And you heard Ms. Johnson and Mr. Dowse testify that you were walking on the side of the road with your dog on your property?
Yes.
When you saw their truck approach, did you indeed give Ms. Johnson the middle finger?
No.
How did the incident occur to your recollection?
So I was walking back to my house with my dog. It's dark, there's no lights, right? So I hear a car coming from the north. So I call Kyra to me. I grab by her collar and I step off the road 2 paces, 3 paces maybe to let the car pass. Car comes around the corner, drives past at a high rate of speed, slams on the brakes and does a wild 3-point turn, crashes up over the bank and drives up on me. And then they jumped out. I'm standing there in the weeds with my dog.
So, Mr. Johnson, what you're saying is that you were walking in the road with your dog and the truck came down the road. Did
So I
a
stood
wide,
off, yep, so I stood off the side of the road so I didn't get run over on a dark dirt road. So I was off probably 2 paces into the tall grass. Standing there holding my dog by the collar till the car passed.
and then you said both Mr. Dowse and Miss Johnson jumped out of the car.
Yes, drove up on me, slammed on the brakes. They both jumped out of the car.
And
She came,
what
she,
was,
she came around the front of the truck. And he was hollering at this point, and they like crossed. Where she ended up on my right. And he was more directly in front of me. When the whole confrontation went down, they were like coming like to encircle me is what I thought. And I'm just standing there. In the grass still at that point.
were you holding your dog at this point?
I was.
And did you see any weapon or object in Miss Johnson's hand?
I did. Looked like a flashlight.
And you stated that it was dark, there were no streetlights.
It was, but when she crossed, when he got out, his doors open and his truck was still on. All his cab lights were going, so it lit the street up right there. And when they crossed in front of me, I seen it in her hand.
And at any time, did this alleged flashlight that you saw in her hand, did she turn it on?
No,
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Any, thing, miscaptured? Do you want to do any direct at this point?
I would like to do some direct with my client.
Okay, go ahead.
Jeremy, do you typically take walks at night with your dog?
I do.
Can you explain to the court why that is?
Well, as of late, it's been 100 degrees outside and I got a black German Shepherd, so nighttime is the best time to walk her because it's not so hot.
And
Trouble getting to sleep. And that night was no different because I was stressed out about the counseling meeting earlier in the day because the boys were upset when they got home.
And did you have any conversations with Miss Johnson prior to her confronting you that night?
No,
And did you have your phone on you while you were walking the dog that night?
I did not.
Did you have any flashlight with you that night?
No,
You stated that the vehicle was traveling north. Was it coming from behind you or in front of you?
the vehicle was coming from the north, headed south.
So does that mean that the headlights were facing you directly on or?
Correct.
And so could you see what kind of vehicle was approaching?
No,
And you said the vehicle was at a high rate of speed.
yes,
Do you believe that was, a typical vehicle at that time of night on your road? Could have been any vehicle.
yes.
Did you make any gestures or anything towards the vehicle as it was approaching you?
No.
Didn't raise your hands or anything?
So I may have had my hand up to the side of my face to block the lights from my eyes so as not to throw my night vision off.
Did the vehicle have its high beams on or low beams?
I would assume high beams out there, but again, I don't know. I wasn't looking directly into the truck lights.
When the vehicle passed by, how quickly did it come to a stop?
Pretty much immediate, probably within 50 foot.
So it was a screeching halt.
Yes,
And you stated that they did a quick turn around.
yes.
At this point, can you explain to the court how you were feeling?
I was pretty confused and going through all the scenarios in my head about what's going on. Who could this possibly be pulling up on me like this?
The mother's attorney immediately attacks the timing and technical issues behind the protective order motion. They argue that the response filed by the mother didn't follow proper court procedures.
Would you say to the court that you were in a state of, fear or apprehension?
Yeah, I was getting ready to take off running into the woods, yeah.
And then when the car approached you and Kelly exited the vehicle, how did you feel?
I was in a state of shock. And I thought I might have been dreaming.
And then you stated very quickly after or almost simultaneously that Mr. Douse also exited his vehicle.
Yes,
And then they approached you
yes,
and they surrounded you.
yes, till about halfway in the road, I would say. Because I had told them, hey, I got my dog. Yeah. And so they had stopped, but she was on my right, he was on my left.
Right. And why did you let them know that you had your dog with you?
Because I don't want my dog biting anybody.
And could you imagine that your dog would bite someone in the middle of the night who was approaching you?
Yes, my dog is protective, and if we would have gotten to a scuffle, she would have reacted.
And Mr. Dowson and Ms. Johnson stated multiple times that you had released the dog. Can you explain to the court what occurred during that altercation?
So I did. So when they were out of the truck, yelling, egging me into the road, trying to get me to fight, they were out of their minds.
So can you explain what you mean by egging you into the road?
Yeah, telling me to put the dog up, come onto the road. I'm not going to come onto your property. And I was trying to tell them I don't have a leash. And they just weren't hearing that, kept on it yelling. And so finally at that point, I did walk into the road to get better footing. Because I thought I was going to have to defend myself. I thought I better get to some better footing. Right? Not standing in the grass on some sticks that I was on. And I come into the road. And then at that point, thought I was going to have to defend myself. So that's when I released Kyra. And Kelly called Kyra, the dog, over to her and grabbed her by her collar.
Can you explain to the court why you felt you needed to defend yourself?
Well, from their actions, they were pretty wound up and out of control, and just the whole encirclement deal and just the words and just everything going on. I mean,
What kind of words were they using?
I'm gonna kick your ass. I mean, a number of phrases. I don't recall all this particulars. Like I said, I was in pretty much Neverland at that point, trying to figure out what's going on.
And you recall Miss Johnson saying to stop fucking with her and her kids?
I don't recall hearing that until I was walking away.
Okay.
So she may have said it earlier on. I don't recall.
All right. Did you ever, say to Mr. Douse, can you box or do you want to box
No.
or something around those lines?
No.
Did he ever threaten you with boxing?
Yes. So at a point we did kind of like square up, right? And he came in with his hands up. So I did the same thing, thinking it was going down, right? And the whole circle, and yeah, the headlights were in my face. So I circled out of the lights. And then that went on for, couldn't have been too long, maybe 15 seconds or so. And I was like, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. And at that point, he was to the north of me. And I had to go south to get home. And she was south of me holding the dog. So I started walking south. And that's when she approached me.
And what occurred when she approached you?
She came up to me and smacked me across my face. So I had a backwoods cigar in my mouth, not a joint. It was a cigar. And she smacked out my mouth. And I remember that because I thought that was kind of weird. And I still had that in my mouth. But She smacked that out of my mouth, and then she reached up and ripped my chain off my neck. And then she started howling, something about going to kick my ass with my own flashlight. And she like commencing to like trying to tussle with me, right? As I was trying to break south. And so it was at that point I grabbed Kyra because she came up. And also I knew she had a flashlight because in that tussle she dropped it. And I remember looking down and I could see the outline of the flashlight on the ground. So I grabbed the dog and I'm trying to walk away with the dog by the collar, drag her, and she put her legs around the dog, wasn't letting me take the dog. So I let go and I headed south, headed home, called for my dog, and she came.
Mr. Johnson, how often do you talk on the phone to Miss Johnson?
Have not.
When do you think, was the last time you talked on the phone with her?
Well, after hearing her testimony about the last texts over the property split, I would have to agree it was at that time. I had said December, right? Because I kind of remembered, I guess, snow on the ground. So now the day she picked everything up, there was snow. I mean, I didn't.
Do you remember when about that time was?
So that would have been March,
Okay.
I believe,
So,
when the property split was.
so from the date of March forward, did you then block Miss Johnson from your phone?
Yes.
And then Mr. Johnson, you recall the incidents from September with Miss Johnson?
Yes.
And can you explain to the court what occurred on that date?
Yeah. So there was parents' night with the kids.
When Jeremy Johnson takes the stand, he describes the moment as terrifying and confusing. He says he was simply walking his dog at night, something he often does because the weather is cooler after dark.
And I coach. And so me and my oldest, so we'd had to talk about parents' night. It was still pretty new after, the split, and
That it was Mr. Johnson, and also Miss Johnson testified to this, that it was Mr. Johnson who instigated the incident initially when they drove past the home to go check on Miss Johnson's children. During this time, Miss Johnson and Mr. Johnson were still married. The home was still the marital property. Miss Johnson did not need a reason to go to the home during the Harper Creek Parents Night event to go and look for her belongings. There were no restraining orders or any other orders in place saying that she was not allowed to enter the property or the marital home. These are very few instances. There are no allegations of stalking. Miss Johnson has not had any conversation with Mr. Johnson outside of that regarding her children. Mr. Johnson also testified himself that he did not block Miss Johnson from his phone until March, when initially in his petition, he stated that he had her blocked in December, which clearly is not true. We would ask that this PPO be terminated on behalf of Mrs. Johnson. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Capture.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe that respondent's attorney misspoke and that the standard for a domestic relationship PPO is appropriate when the petitioner can demonstrate that the respondent has interfered with the petitioner's personal liberty or caused a reasonable apprehension of fear. Pursuant to case law, People versus Richardson, reasonable cause is shown by facts that would justify a fair-minded person of average intelligence to believe that an incident has occurred. PPOs do not require multiple incidents. However, in this particular case, there are multiple incidents of Miss Johnson acting erratic, harassing my client, and the primary incident in the middle of the night, driving past his home and cornering him with another individual. Any individual could state that incident alone would put them in a reasonable apprehension of fear. That is pursuant to the statute MCL 600-2951L. Again, Your Honor, my client has sufficiently presented facts today via his testimony that respondent corroborates by saying that she did, in fact, appear at our petitioner's home in the middle of the night while petitioner did not have anything on his person. He did take hold of his dog, but did not have a weapon, did not have any reason to corner petitioner in the middle of the night with a vehicle. And yet, respondent states that she did just that. She also states that she used vulgar language, which can be construed as threatening, because it's very unlikely that anyone says those terms in a kind manner. This vulgar language also occurred at a high school event in front of the minor children, while my client was trying to prevent those minor children from being exposed to this behavior. Respondent herself admits that she used vulgar language at a high school event, and then admits to the fact that she did drive to the marital home and access the garage. Again, Your Honor, all of these would put any reasonable individual in a state of fear, or that the incident itself did occur. It did. That is the threshold for a PPO. I believe that is satisfied. I do not believe petitioner or respondent has met their burden of proof to terminate this PPO, and we request that their motion be dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Smith?
Yes, Your Honor, I would just like to state that words in Michigan not coupled with any action is not enough to put someone in an apprehension of fear. Ms. Johnson did not ever testify to making any actions.
The mother admitted she searched the garage looking for her spare car keys, but denied destroying anything. Still, the father argues that these incidents show a pattern of unpredictable behavior
Towards Mr. Johnson on any of these events, the Harper Creek Parents Night event, or in the event with driving past the home, that would cause Mr. Johnson, according to Michigan law, to be put in an apprehension of fear. If she said words, they were not coupled with gestures to put him in a reasonable apprehension of fear. Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, in this case, as in most cases, the court does always look at the issue of credibility, and oftentimes parties will allege that one witness was not truthful or lying. And the court has found that inconsistencies do occur oftentimes when parties are not lying, and there's conflicting testimony will occur based upon a person's background, perception, bias, understanding, and misunderstanding. There were inconsistencies, obviously, in this case, although they were very slight. There were inconsistencies, and I'm not going to go into all those because I don't think they're germane in this particular point. The testimony of the petitioner in this case was that, petitioner of the respondent, not petitioner. She had testified that they were driving down the road approximately midnight on May 21st, 2024, that they saw Mr. Johnson off in the grass or an area on his property, and that she claims that he flipped her off. He claims he had his hand up by his face, was simply shielding himself from the lights. He said he couldn't see the vehicle or who it was or anything of that nature. And at that time, the respondent informed and told her boyfriend to turn the vehicle around. They did turn the vehicle around, got outside of the vehicle. She then proceeded to go up to the petitioner, and that's Mr. Johnson, and informed him, says she's told him, "Stop fucking with me and my children." The boyfriend then got out of the vehicle, and she claims she never assaulted the petitioner in this particular matter. He states on his testimony that she did, and she also tore a necklace off his neck. But So there were varying, again, renditions of what happened on the May 21st, 2024 date. And that the other incident occurred that really is germane is the one in September of 2023 at the football game when apparently it's supposed to be parents' night, and the respondent stated she was upset at that point that her son had not come out to be introduced and have the parents' night. She went to the locker room. She said, "I was really upset." She then proceeded to yell out. She says, "Tell Petitioner," that's Mr. Johnson, "get his bitch ass out here." Again, she made other vulgar and comments at that particular time, as she stated. In these particular matters, the court can grant a personal protective order which would enjoin or restrain certain conduct if the court determines there's reasonable cause to believe that an individual has committed or may commit any of the acts listed under MCL 600.2950 parens 1 parens A through K. Those incidents would include, not be limited to, any placing an individual or threatening them with physical injury, again, assaulting, attacking, beating, molesting, or wounding an individual or any nerve on their property. In this case, also the person could place a person in apprehension, again, of those particular actions. And if the person also engages in stalking behavior, and stalking behavior would encompass, again, confronting a particular person in these particular cases, or again, any other act or conduct which would cause a reasonable apprehension of violence in this particular matter. The miscapture had quoted to People versus Richardson, where reasonable cause can be shown by facts leading a fair-minded person of average intelligence or judgment to believe that an incident has occurred, as Ms. Capture mentioned, or will occur in this particular case. So it doesn't necessarily have to occur, but it can apprehension that something will occur. Clearly, in this particular matter, the respondent, when she went by and saw the petitioner aside the road at approximately midnight, he could have continued to go on and, in fact, leave the premises, have no altercation. That she chose not to do so, but to tell her boyfriend to turn around, got out of the vehicle, went up to the petitioner at that particular time, and again was vulgar in her contact with him, that he stated when she was coming out of the vehicle that at that point he and the boyfriend was coming out, he stated that he got in a defensive position because he thought he was going to have to defend himself at that particular time. And clearly, if he feels he has to defend himself, that places him in reasonable apprehension of some physical altercation occurring in these particular cases. So the court does believe that there is reasonable cause to believe that individual has committed or may commit any of the acts listed under the applicable statute that I'd referenced before. I think it is appropriate, and I did think it was appropriate at the time to grant the personal protective order, and the court is going to deny the petition to terminate the personal protective order. It will remain and continue throughout the term as stated in that protective order. You're free to go. Have a good day, and hopefully we have no further instances or altercations.
Finally, the judge delivers the decision. After reviewing all the testimony, the court focuses on one key issue: reasonable fear. The judge explains that protective orders don't require multiple violent incidents. If a person's actions could reasonably make someone fear violence, that alone may justify the order. In this case, the judge points to the late-night confrontation on the road. The mother chose to turn the vehicle around, exit the car, and approach the father aggressively. From the judge's perspective, that situation could make any reasonable person believe a physical altercation might occur. Because of that, the court rules that the protective order will remain in place. The request to terminate it is denied, and the hearing comes to a tense close.